The instant Veronica's feet touched the floor at Incheon International Airport, something shifted inside her chest. The air tasted different, sharper, winter-clean, and unfamiliar. She pressed her palm against the cold glass and watched the Korean flag rippling outside. "I actually made it," she breathed out, barely believing her own words. Back home in Lagos, Veronica had consumed every Korean drama like oxygen. From Boys Over Flowers to Extraordinary You, her soul had claimed Korea years before her body could follow. She'd fantasized about it, dreamed in subtitles, but never truly believed the day would come when she'd receive that acceptance letter from WI International Academy, one of Seoul's most prestigious elite schools. Yet here she stood, completely alone, scared out of her mind, and wildly excited all at once. The airport shuttle carried her into the city. Her face stayed glued to that window, eyes drinking in everything. Skyscrapers stretching toward clouds, neon characters glowing even in daylight, tiny convenience stores on every corner, cherry trees lining the river like something out of a painting. It exceeded every drama she'd ever watched, but Seoul had an edge to it, a coldness that went deeper than the temperature, something in the way people moved past each other without connecting. When she finally reached her school dormitory, her roommate gave her a quick glance and nothing more. The ajumma running the cafeteria couldn't parse her accent no matter how slowly Veronica spoke. Even loading money onto a bus card became a puzzle she couldn't solve. She didn't let herself cry that first night, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking as she laid out her clothes for tomorrow. Morning came too fast. She buttoned herself into that crisp school uniform, navy skirt pressed sharp, blazer fitted perfectly, red tie knotted at her throat. One long breath in, then she pushed through the main school doors. Every head swiveled. Whispers erupted like small fires. "Is that girl from Africa? What's she doing here?" They didn't even pretend to be subtle about it. Veronica fixed her eyes on the floor tiles and kept moving toward the classroom assignment she'd memorized. Class 2-1. The second she stepped through that door, the air changed. Complete silence crashed over the room. Every single eye locked onto her. The teacher offered a tight smile. "This is Veronica. She's joining us from Nigeria. Please make her feel welcome." Only one student actually looked at her, really looked. Hyunwoo. He occupied the back corner by the window. White earbuds dangling from one ear, shirt collar unbuttoned just enough to break dress code. His face could have been sculpted for drama posters, all sharp angles and cool indifference. When the teacher gestured for Veronica to take the empty seat beside him, actual gasps rippled through the classroom. She felt her feet turn to stone. Hyan Wu's eyes met hers, cold as winter glass, unreadable as locked doors. Then, without speaking, he reached over and pulled out her chair. Girls around them immediately started whispering behind cupped hands. One rolled her eyes so dramatically Veronica could practically hear it. She sank into that seat, heart hammering against her ribs like it wanted out. This was the moment her whole world tilted. Sleep didn't come easy. The stares, the whispers, that heavy silence, it all played on repeat inside her head like a drama she couldn't pause. At breakfast, food turned tasteless in her mouth. Her roommate still barely acknowledged her existence. She missed everything. Her mother's voice. Her friends' laughter. Being surrounded by people who didn't study her like she was a riddle they weren't sure they wanted to solve. Still, she buttoned that uniform again, tied that red ribbon tight, and told her reflection, "I didn't fly halfway across the world just to disappear." Walking into class 2-1 felt like déjà vu. More eyes. Louder whispers. But Hyunwoo, he never even glanced up. She slid into her seat next to him. Silence stretched between them like miles. "Good morning," she offered quietly, trying for politeness. Nothing. Not a word. Not even a flicker of acknowledgement. Her chest went tight, but she kept her chin level. Classes dragged by. First period, then second. When break finally hit, two girls materialized at her desk. One wore thick eyeliner like war paint. The other had her arms crossed tight across her chest. "You think sitting beside Hyunwoo makes you somebody special?" The eyeliner girl's English came out sharp, accent heavy. Veronica blinked. "I'm sorry. Don't play innocent." The second girl practically spat the words. "You're just an exchange student. Don't get confused about your place." They walked away laughing, loud enough that others joined in. Heat flooded Veronica's face. Her fists clenched tight under the desk. Then a soft voice broke through. "Are you all right?" She turned to find a girl with shoulder-length hair, gentle bangs, and eyes that held actual kindness instead of judgment. "I'm Sujin," the girl said, giving a small bow. "You can sit with me at lunch if you want. Those girls are all drama, no substance." Veronica's eyes stung just slightly. "I'm Veronica." "Thank you. Come on, let's get out of here before someone starts throwing things." They both laughed, and for the first time since landing in Seoul, Veronica felt something loosen in her chest. Later that day, after gym class finished, Veronica returned to the classroom alone to grab her forgotten notebook. She found Hyunwoo still sitting in his usual spot, staring through the window, earbuds creating his private world. Should she speak? Maybe she should just leave. "You're really good at math," she said softly. Nothing. Silence. She turned to leave, embarrassment heating her neck. "Stay away from those girls." His voice stopped her cold. She spun back around. His tone came out low, flat, but something else lived underneath it. Warning. Maybe concern. "Why?" she asked. "They're fake." That was it. Nothing more. He pushed his earbuds back in, eyes returning to whatever existed beyond that window. Veronica walked out with her pulse racing, but this time fear wasn't the cause. Something about Hyunwoo pulled at her. Something damaged. Something beautiful. And possibly, something dangerous. After 1 week at WI International Academy, Veronica could navigate the hallways blindfolded, had successfully avoided 5 separate rumors about herself, and discovered that cafeteria rice actually tasted decent when mixed with kimchi, even if her taste buds still weren't completely convinced. But every single day still felt like walking a tightrope stretched over something vast and uncertain. Except for one constant. Sujin. She wasn't clingy or demanding. She didn't bombard Veronica with invasive questions. She simply existed alongside her with this quiet, steady strength that transformed unbearable silence into something manageable. When Veronica stumbled during gym class, Sujin helped her up without mocking. When Veronica stood confused in front of the bus machine, Sujin swiped her card with a grin and promised, "I'll teach you Seoul one bus stop at a time." By Friday, they were sitting beneath a cherry blossom tree behind the school building, splitting a convenience store sandwich and laughing about how Veronica had accidentally bowed deeply to a decorative statue that morning. "I think I injured my dignity," Veronica said through sandwich. "You bowed lower than the principal does during ceremonies," Sujin giggled. It felt good. Safe. Normal. Back in class, the atmosphere transformed whenever Hyunwoo entered. He always arrived early, always stayed quiet, always remained impossible to read. He never laughed, never spoke unless a teacher directed a question at him. But when words did leave his mouth, his voice came out smooth and controlled, almost too mature for a teenager. Veronica noticed everything. How he aligned his notebook with geometric precision. How his pen never seemed to run dry. How he showed zero reaction when girls slipped him love letters folded into elaborate origami shapes. And how he never, not once, looked at her directly. One afternoon, Veronica lingered after class to finish sketching a cityscape she'd observed from the school rooftop. Drawing became her escape, a way of stitching herself into Seoul one pencil stroke at a time. As the classroom emptied, she heard someone shift in their seat. Hyunwoo remained, still present. He was staring through that window again, earphones in, eyes focused on somewhere far beyond reach. Veronica glanced his direction, then back to her sketch pad. But something felt different. His fingers were trembling. She froze mid-stroke. He rubbed at his eyes quickly, too quickly, like someone trying to erase tears before they could fully form. Veronica said nothing, just observed. In that suspended moment, the untouchable boy looked desperately human. Eventually, he sensed her watching. Their eyes connected. For the first time since they'd met, he didn't look away immediately. He just held her gaze, exhausted, raw, completely real. Then he stood and walked out without a single word. Veronica sat motionless, heart pounding hard. She'd just witnessed a crack in the perfect surface, and instinct told her one thing clearly. Hyunwoo wasn't anything like what everyone believed him to be. Pair up. That was the literature teacher's only instruction before scribbling the assignment across the board. Joint presentation, 2 students per group, worth 30% of their final grade. The classroom exploded into chatter, everyone scrambling to claim their preferred partner. Veronica turned toward Sujin, but before either could speak, the teacher clapped her hands sharply. I'll assign the remaining pairs. Veronica's stomach dropped. Veronica. Hyunwoo. Complete. Dead. Silence. She blinked rapidly. He simply nodded once and pulled out his notebook like she didn't even exist beside him. Sujin shot Veronica a wide-eyed look that said everything. Veronica's palms were already damp. Their assignment: analyze a poem called Evening Snow by Baek-suk and create a 2-person performance exploring its themes of isolation and beauty. That afternoon, Veronica and Hyunwoo occupied the library together, or more accurately, sat near each other while existing in completely separate universes. She cleared her throat. We could perform the 2 voices in the poem. It explores contrast, right? Cold versus warmth, distance versus... You interpreted it wrong, Hyunwoo said flatly. Veronica went rigid. I didn't. He looked at her, expression blank. Read it again. Slowly this time. She clenched her jaw tight. You know, just because everyone here worships you doesn't give you permission to talk down to me. Silence filled the space between them. Then unexpectedly, the tiniest smile touched the corner of his mouth. You're different from the others. Veronica blinked hard. Was that almost a compliment? He didn't clarify, but he didn't argue either. So they began working. Day after day, side by side after school. In heavy silence at first, then in brief exchanges, then eventually in laughter that surprised both of them. One afternoon while studying on the rooftop, Hyunwoo's suggestion, Veronica pulled out her sketch pad again. You draw Seoul like you're already part of it, he said quietly. She looked up, startled. Maybe I'm trying to be. He studied her drawing of Namsan Tower at sunset. When he spoke again, his voice had softened. My mother used to paint. Before she left, Veronica went completely still. She felt the air shift around them. She left. Hyunwoo gave the faintest nod. When I was 9. Silence, thick and honest, settled between them. Veronica set her pencil down carefully. My father left too. When I was 7. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Hyunwoo turned to face her fully, really face her, and said, That's why you understood the poem. It wasn't flattery. It wasn't manipulation. It was just truth, raw and simple. The next day, everything shifted again. Veronica opened her locker and found a note waiting. Stay away from Hyunwoo. You're embarrassing yourself. No signature, just harsh letters in English. Someone had drawn a broken heart beneath the words. She stared at it, fingers starting to tremble. The whispers were intensifying again, growing bolder. But this time, when she walked into class and took her seat beside him, Hyunwoo turned and asked, Are you okay? Not cold. Not distant. Just human. And somehow that made everything harder, because she realized with sudden clarity that this was starting to matter far too much. The school festival had always been significant at WI International Academy. Colorful lanterns everywhere, fried food vendors, stages filled with dance performances and karaoke battles. It looked magical from the outside, but for Veronica, it felt more like walking through a minefield wearing a target. She heard them whispering constantly. She's just exploiting the exchange program to seem interesting. Hyunwoo would never actually like someone like that. She's forcing herself into spaces she doesn't belong. Veronica maintained her smile, but internally she was fracturing. At the class game booth, she worked alongside Hyunwoo. As always, he remained calm, intelligent, courteous. Girls from other classes kept appearing just to speak with him, some intentionally losing games, so he'd help them restart. She didn't blame them for being attracted to him, but the way they looked at her, like she was an insect on pristine glass. Is she still sitting next to him? One girl whispered, deliberately loud. She's just an international charity case, another added. Veronica inhaled sharply, forcing down her pride. Not today. Not here. That evening, fireworks began illuminating the sky. Her classmates gathered in clusters with snacks and cameras. Hyunwoo stood alone near the garden stairs, scrolling through his phone. She approached him carefully. You're not watching the fireworks? I've witnessed enough explosions today, he replied casually. She laughed quietly, then hesitated. You heard what they said again, didn't you? He didn't answer immediately. I did. She turned partly away. Her chest burned. They act like you're some trophy I'm not allowed to even dream about. Hyunwoo looked at her, uncertain how to respond. Do you care? She asked suddenly. He blinked. About them. No. About me. About what they say about me being near you. He hesitated. And that pause, just 1 second too long, cracked something deep inside her chest. Behind them, a small group of girls passed by and smirked openly. She's still chasing him like a puppy. She'll do absolutely anything for attention. Veronica spun sharply. Her heart screamed. Her thoughts roared. Enough. 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 She turned back to Hyunwoo, locking eyes with him. And before he could ask anything, before anyone could whisper one more cruel word, she kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't romantic. It was loud, bold, public, and completely, utterly real. Hyunwoo's eyes flew wide open. His hands froze at his sides, uncertain where to go. The crowd around them gasped collectively. Phone cameras lifted like flowers toward sunlight. When Veronica finally pulled back, she kept her chin high. The girls had gone silent. So had Hyunwoo. He stared at her, completely stunned, still processing what had just happened. She stepped backward, chest rising and falling rapidly, and said loud enough for everyone nearby, "Believe it now?" Then she walked straight through the crowd, leaving Hyunwoo speechless beneath the glow of falling fireworks. And though he couldn't understand it yet, that single kiss would transform absolutely everything. Hyunwoo didn't sleep. Not even close. He replayed it endlessly. Her eyes. That kiss. The fire burning behind her actions. The way she walked away like she didn't require anyone's validation, not even his. But what haunted him most was how he felt in that split second after her lips left his. Empty. The next morning, Veronica didn't appear in class. Her seat beside him sat vacant. No notebook, no pen, no scarf draped over her chair. Just absence, heavy and obvious. The class buzzed with gossip. Some still whispered, others scrolled through grainy video clips. One girl even said, she's probably hiding from total embarrassment. But Hyunwoo packed his bag during lunch and walked straight out of school without explanation. He found her in the neighborhood bookstore, the one she'd mentioned once in passing, where she went when homesickness hit too hard. She was crouched in an aisle, flipping through a poetry collection. When she looked up and spotted him, she froze completely. She started, standing quickly, but he didn't let her continue. He walked forward, steady and quiet, until barely any space remained between them. You kissed me, he stated. Veronica folded her arms defensively. Yeah, I did. His voice dropped lower. Why? She looked away. Because they needed to witness that I don't care. That I'm not afraid of them or their opinions. That I belong here just as much as anyone. He studied her carefully. And because. She added softly, maybe I wanted to kiss you. Just once. Silence stretched between them. Then Hyunwoo stepped even closer, just a breath of distance remaining. You left, he said. I thought you'd be angry. I wasn't, he whispered. I was shocked. She nodded, already looking away again until he added, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Veronica's eyes went wide. What? Hyunwoo exhaled, almost smiling. You've been here for weeks now. Sitting beside me. Walking with me. Moving through those halls like you're not terrified. But I see it. How difficult it's been. How strong you actually are. She remained motionless. And you kissed me like it didn't matter whether I liked you back or not. Like your worth wasn't dependent on my response. Nobody's ever. He trailed off. Nobody's what? She whispered. I've never wanted to kiss someone more in my entire life. Veronica's eyes widened further. Hyunwoo moved even closer. His voice came out low and completely sincere. So, if you'd allow me, I'd really like to kiss you now. Properly this time. She blinked. Seriously? He smirked, that rare, genuine smile he never showed in public. I don't say things I don't mean. This time it was soft, gentle, sincere. And when he kissed her beneath the dim lights of that bookstore aisle, surrounded by dusty paperbacks and old ink, it was everything. Not because it proved anything to the others, but because it said everything they'd never had courage to say aloud. Later, they walked Seoul's streets together, quietly holding hands. She showed him her favorite spot by the Han River. He shared his playlist with her, even the embarrassing songs. They laughed constantly. When she tripped, he caught her. When he looked at her, he really looked. And from that moment forward, no whisper or rumor could touch her. Because now she had more than just a seatmate. She had someone who saw her completely. Finally. At school the following week, someone muttered under their breath again. She probably begged him to stay with her. But Hyunwoo just glanced back at the girl and said with a calm, amused smirk, actually, I begged her. Then he turned back to Veronica and laced his fingers through hers, walking into class like the entire world could watch and it wouldn't change a single thing. The cherry blossoms returned to Seoul, floating like soft confetti through spring breeze. It had been exactly 1 year since the kiss that altered everything. Veronica stood before the university notice board, holding her breath. There it was. Congratulations. Admitted. International Business and Cultural Exchange, Seoul National University. She gasped, then laughed, loud and completely free. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Hyunwoo, I got in. Veronica, same university? Hyunwoo, same uni, different department. Same city. Hyunwoo, ready for more library dates? She smiled so widely her cheeks actually hurt. Later that evening they met on campus. No uniforms now, no whispers, no pressure. Just two students with enormous dreams and a story that began with a seatmate and a kiss. Hyunwoo handed her a coffee. To surviving high school. She clinked it against his. To whatever comes next. He grinned. Let's make it even better. And as they walked beneath those pink trees, her curls bouncing, his hoodie half-zipped, hands brushing, hearts completely full, the world opened up before them. This time they weren't proving anything to anyone. They were just beginning. Did you gasp when that bold kiss happened? Veronica really turned everything upside down and Hyunwoo never saw it coming. If you're loving this Korean drama vibe story, smash that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.